What is cool? Welcome to Philosopher's Corner. I'm John. What is cool? The standard definition is calm self-control. Now, we know cool as a modern aesthetic. It's a way a person looks. It's a way a person acts. We typically associate it with youth, which of course is incorrect. Anybody can be cool. And cool has a long history. Cool has arguably been with us ever since the dawn of man. And philosophically, we can really trace the roots of cool back to the Stoics. And as we recall, the Stoics they had a detached emotional discipline about their fate and destiny and the things they couldn't control. And so they were able to have a calm inner demeanor and not be reactionary to things in their environment, whether they were small or large. Marcus Aurelius being maybe the most famous example of any of the Stoics. And that calm under pressure quality and trait has become a very cherished state of being in the human condition. It's one of those traits that no matter the generation, no matter the place on earth, a society cherishes cool. And they do it for different reasons. We normally associate it with pop culture and younger people and seeing them be cool and be able to, rock out and then be cool, or, all sorts of different demonstrations of it, But for other humans, older humans, it's important to have cool people because we need cool people in all walks of life where there are stressful situations. We need cool people. It's an essential trait for military pilots, firefighters, surgeons, lawyers, doctors of any kind. We would hope that our good politicians were cool, but anybody that's in a position of power, you hope they're going to be cool, because really cool is about having the heat of the processing of life happen internally while still having emotional control, mental control, and behavioral control of yourself so that you can have a calm demeanor. And so you can have a lot of hot energy on you, but you're maintaining your cool, right? And we need that there's all sorts of jobs where that's essentially a requirement, is that you need to act calm under pressure, which is what cool is. Now, we see a lot of examples of things that are supposed to be cool that are not cool, but they kind of mimic cool. And probably the most obvious one of those is when people become apathetic or detached, right? That's a easy mimic of cool, especially being detached or emotionally uninvested. So some people will go around life and they'll just not be there. They won't be emotionally engaged in the moment. They're not engaged in their life, and they're generally detached, maybe even despondent. And they try to play that off as cool. Oh, that person's cool. That person's that person's probably not cool. That person is either detached, despondent, or depressed, or apathetic, and they're trying to play it off as cool, which is fine. It's not a judgment; it's an observation. But when you find out when people are cool, is you put them through a stress test, or you observe when they go through really stressful situations. Stress tests are one of the more revealing aspects of life. When people go through the hard times, you really do find out what their character is, what their constitution is. And in the process of them going through stressful times, especially when you see them, there's this twofold. You can be going under stressful conditions when you're sort of unaware of it, unconsciously, and that's one level of checking out how cool the person is. And then there's when the person consciously knows that they're in a stressful situation, and especially one where they don't know how long it's going to last. Then you can really tell, you can really gauge the person's level of cool, because now they have critical tasks in their life to achieve, solutions to be discovered, problems to be solved, all the things that go to make a stressful situation, resources to be obtained, all these things. And then if they don't know where it is in the moment and they have to enter into the unknown to find these solutions to these antagonists in their life, and they're severe enough that all the pretenses are stripped away, so they can't act fake anymore, and they have to be themselves, because in their mind their survival is at stake, and now they really have to completely engage in the moment and bring all their powers to bear to find life solutions. Then you're going to find out how cool they are. And the coolness is going to be a direct reflection of their internal discipline, because it's a measure of how much can you keep your processes internal without lashing out or having eccentric behavior while you problem solve, or task complete, or whatever it is that you're engaged in at that moment. And we can tell that coolness is directly proportional to attachment. The Buddhists say that life is suffering because attachments, and that really you find your liberation in life by dissolving your attachments. Well, it's not that you can dissolve your attachment to everything in life. It's that you dissolve the emotional attachments and the mental attachments, which are dependencies and all these other things. And coolness will come in, and when your coolness is being disrupted and a person looks to what's disrupting it, most of the time you're going to find an attachment to something. And then that's the thing that they gotta deal with, bring their awareness to, determine, what's the nature of this attachment. Is it one that needs to be dissolved? Is it something I need to maintain? Is there a problem solved that needs to be here? Like if you're attached to your children, you can't say, well, I'm just going to put them up for adoption. You go, okay, well, what my attachment to my child, what's the thing? Oh, the child needs something. That's why I'm feeling that, right? Or, oh, I have an attachment to, I think I need like a brand new Mercedes. And then you look at your life and go, why am I telling myself I need a brand new Mercedes? Like, I make $50,000 and I already have a car, and the last thing I need is a new Mercedes. Why do I keep, oh, I'm being greedy. And then, okay, I need to stop being greedy. And then that bond can dissolve. That attachment can dissolve. You go, oh, I'm just being greedy and unrealistic. Like, why am I putting that on myself? Okay, let that go. Or whatever it is. I mean, it can be big or small. And cool, like the more you have less attachments, or the ability to examine the attachment and determine if it's a necessary connection. I guess that would be the discernment between an attachment and a connection, because you have connections, relationships, and networks, and those are things that we're connected to that are healthy and operating, and they're part of our life. And then attachments can be put into another category where they don't necessarily do anything for us. They're just these things that are maybe born out of improper principles, internal principles, things that our ego wants. I mean, there's a whole list of them, but most of the time they're things that need to be dissolved, or they need to be re-examined and categorized to say, well, is this attachment? Is this a healthy thing in my life? Does this need to become a connection? Is this something I need, or is this just like some something that's inefficient and not being good for my energetic field. And part of being cool is having that internal discipline and discernment to go through all these things, and as they come up, deal with them, right? So a celebrity, for instance, is cool because they have so many connections that they're essentially not just innumerable, but like they can't necessarily specify all the connections because they're connected to so many people and things that they'll never meet, but those things and people are connected to them. And so they need to have an internal discernment process so that they aren't frazzled from like trying to like be connected to everything at all the times. And so in their position, cool is a prerequisite to handle the job because they have so many connections and so many relationships. So cool is the ability to handle the heat of all the life connections too. It's a really useful thing, and it allows you to operate at higher volume and higher volume of interactions, higher quality, and to be involved in more important scenarios. Because part of being cool is that you can handle heavy situations. You know, you can handle life-changing situations on a regular basis, which, going back to those jobs I was talking about before, whether you're like firefighters or doctors or lawyers or whatever, people in high, not just high power positions, but people who regularly deal with life-changing scenarios. For some people, it's a daily job to handle life-changing situations. And so coolness, which is that internal self-discipline, the ability to maintain calm and still operate at a high level, is necessary for those jobs. So it's, you know, it's not just for rock stars, right? It's for the whole diaspora of humanity. We need cool people all over the place, and it's cool to be cool. And it is a bit of a paradox because you have to maintain the heat while being cool. And it's also a hallmark of being cool to maintain your morality in an immoral situation, which can also be extremely difficult. Maybe arguably the most difficult thing is to maintain one's morality in an immoral situation, right? But you have to do it to a point. The difficult part of that equation for cool is that you can't be so steadfast in your morality that you become a zealot in that situation. That's the requirement of cool, is that you don't take it over the line. You take it to the optimum point of the morality in that immoral situation so that you're still anchoring that space for the morality, but you're not turning yourself into a crusader, because then it's not cool. Like, there weren't any Stoics going out starting wars. So it's a fine line. It's a bit of a paradox because you're keeping it hot while keeping it cool, and you got to keep it balanced, and you can't really go extreme one side or the other. You have to maintain your morality without being too moral, sort of. And oftentimes you got to be the most powerful person in the room without revealing yourself to be that powerful, so that other people can be in there and you can be a good leader. A lot of times being a good leader, being cool is a requirement of being a good leader, because a good leader needs to have a consensus vision for the group. And most of the time, the group itself is not going to have that consensus vision. So the leader is going to be more powerful than most of the individuals in the group, but they have to present themselves in a way that the individuals can relate and not be overwhelmed by the power of the leader. And they can do that by being cool. And the moment they stop being cool, like, for instance, the leader needs to be in control of the situation. But if they try to take total control of the situation, then they're not being cool and they turn into a dictator or a totalitarian of some cloth. And so that's another balance with cool. You gotta be cool enough to be the leader and be in charge and like be attention to detail and have control, but not so much of it that you become a dictator. And it's like that across the spectrum with being cool. There's a sweet spot, there's a balance point to it, and it is balanced by these attachments and these connections and the ability to keep it hot and cool at the same time, because it's almost like electrical engineering where you're using your body as a circuit, and the idea is that all this energy can flow through you, like this high hot energy can flow through you, and you're a circuit, and your ability to not short out is allowing a situation to occur, but also you have to allow a certain amount of energy to come through at all times. You can't cut yourself off. You can't detach or be apathetic or cut yourself out of the circuit. You actually have to be plugged in. You have to be connected, and you can't overwhelm the circuit board if you're in it. If you're a circuit that can conduct a ridiculous amount of energy, well, you have to also make sure that you don't conduct too much energy to the rest of the board if the rest of the board can't handle it. So there's a management of cool that happens for a person when they're practicing the art of cool. So cool. It's calm self-discipline. It's being moral in an immoral situation, and it's balancing the paradox of the hot and the cool while maintaining an indifference to the things that one cannot control. So thanks for spending some time here at Philosopher's Corner. I hope you found it helpful, and as always, have fun.